Hey everybody, it's Jen Healy here with the AYRx Yoga Swing, and I'm coming to you with a special edition for the therapeutic version of the swing. I have a dear friend who just messaged me saying that he woke up with his sacrum stuck, and so I'm doing this special video for him and sharing it with you guys live. And so what I want to do is create as much space and traction in the lower back so that the sacrum can release. The pelvis is a floating mechanism, so it tends to get stuck, especially if we slept wrong or there's an injury there that gets activated by too much activity. I'm going to change this light so it's a little bit better. Yeah, that's better. It's glaring behind me. So I wanted to just do this special video for you, help the hips, the lower back, the sacrum, all of that release. So we're going to start by standing in the center mats, reach up and grab for the handholds, and let's do a full body stretch to begin. I like to use a wrist wrap, and then we're going to walk it out to 9 and 3 or 10 and 2, and just let your body gently rock from side to side. Let this feel good as you start to just lengthen the spine. You're going to be hanging by your arms, so just stay for as long as your hands feel good, and just rock around. So I like to call these belly dancing moves or wiggling or shimmying, whatever feels good to just help create a little bit more space and more length for the lower back, for the intercostals, the rib cage, for the waist, for the love handles, the obliques. And sometimes I pause at the edges here and slow it way down in order to feel a twist that might happen naturally, and that will help wring out the spine. So pause at the edges, bend one knee, keep looking straight ahead so that you're stretching your spine in two opposite directions. So your gaze is going opposite to the knee that drops. All right, let's do that for 5 more breaths. Just freestyle, improv, let it feel good. Start to open up the whole body, the full body stretch. You're going to feel it in your arms, you're going to feel it in your hands. You should also feel it all the way down to your sacrum and your tailbone here. Okay, I'm going to walk to the back of the mat. Just stay with me for 5 more breaths, and we're going to do some knee lifts. So I'm pressing my hips forward, standing at the back of the mat, and I'm going to lift my knee as high as possible. Now, this might just be a few rounds for you, especially if you're experiencing any pain, just back off. But just do that for as long as possible, and then come to stand in the center of the mat. Shake it out. Okay, so now we're just doing all of our go-tos. This will be about 10, 15 minutes, not a super long video unless we get inspired. So we're just gonna do all the basics. So that was our full body hang. Now we're gonna stand in the center of the mat and get into our sumo squat. We wrap our arms around, pushing our forearms down. The swing's gonna hit the lower ribs, and then we're gonna lean back into it. Once we're there, let's stay centered in the mat. Let's go into chillaxing arms, and let's just gently rock from side to side with the feet together. Maybe hip distance if you need a little bit more stability and support. But you're actually leaning way further back than our normal. This is called weeping willow, than our normal supported back bend. And just let yourself rock from side to side. Let that feel good. Take your time with it. I'm really leading with my hips, and my upper body is just coming along for the sway. So I'm pushing the hips from side to side, really grounding through the feet. So I'm letting this come from the iliac crest, letting it come from that SI joint where the sacrum meets the hips. Okay, and the upper body's just going along with it. That's why we call it a weeping willow. And then from there, we're going to come back to center. Inhale, open the arms wide. Exhale, forearm press. Okay, this is our lock. This is what keeps the swing from riding up really high and pinching on our underarms. So keep your lock. Let the feet slide to the front of the mat, and then heel toe wide to 10 and 2. Just into a comfortable position. Drop the hips, which means rolling the pubic bone down and under. Most people have their hips pressing forward. That means the pelvis is locked, and we want to really drop the hips by deepening the hip creases, the hip flexors, and rolling the pubic bone down and back, as well as the tailbone sinking straight down. Now, if I'm going to just focusing on releasing the lower back and sacrum, I like to just rock my hips from side to side. Again, kind of like these little belly dancing moves where it's not like a block of energy. You're really letting it come from the pelvis. The knees stay pressed open wide, and you're letting your hips do the initiation of the movement. If you want to think of pulling one knee forward and one knee back while they stay open, that is another way to rock the hips. Okay, we're just trying to loosen up the pelvis. A lot of times the sacrum will get stuck, or one of the SI joints will get stuck. So we're mobilizing the lower body while keeping the upper body nice and strong, chest lifted, arms engaged, body completely relaxed, right? So the more that we relax, the more space that we can create for the vertebrae. We're tractioning the spine out of the pelvis to create space. That's the most important thing about the sumo squat. And we can also play with a little bit of lunging from side to side. I like to make my feet a little bit wider, maybe 9 and 3, so the knee doesn't go past the ankle joint, pressing back and around, opening up the inner groin, keeping the knees nice and wide in all these poses. Make sure you're marrying your breath with the movement, whatever that looks like or feels like for you. Slow it down. You can always just repeat these same sequences over and over again. We might move on to some more advanced things, and you can go back and just rewind it and keep doing the full body hang or the sumo squat if we do something more advanced and it doesn't feel right for your body. So this might not feel great on your lower back. Just be easy about it and slow it down. You can go at a nice slow pace and pulse, or you can go a little bit faster, more dynamic if your body is needing more lubrication to loosen it up. But if it really feels uncomfortable, stay and pause in this position and just pulse into the space. Okay, lots of variations. Let's do another supported back bend. Get the swing nice and low. Make sure it's behind the heart, behind the sternum, the center of the chest, and then below the tips of the shoulder blades. Chillax the arms, support the head, and rock from side to side. Again, initiating from the hips and arching and bending. Okay, so now we're getting a deeper stretch through the side body by creating a rainbow or an arch. So we're arching more than normal here to get a deeper stretch. Oh, really good. 5 more breaths. Open up the heart towards the sky, head relaxed back into the hands, grounding strongly through your feet. All right, come on back to center and help open the arms up wide, overhead and to the sides, and then forearm press. So now we're going to come into a new pose. It is another version of recline twist, but we're going to come to a seated position with both feet at 12 o'clock. Let's go ahead and pick up our left foot and slide it underneath. So it's going to go, if we're on axes here, your right foot is forward, your left foot is going to be out at the 9 and 3 axes. So it's 9 for me, so 3 for you. And flex the toes back on the left foot. And then drop your hips straight down. It's going to be really intense under your arms. So keep your press with your forearms to keep that hook. But see if you can drop the hips and then maybe start to walk your foot out to 11 o'clock on your mat. Okay, if you're not using a circular mat, you can just mark these points, the 12 and 6 axes as well as the 9 and 3 axes. But I do really recommend getting one of these mandala mats. Super helpful in order to find the alignment and spacing. And then what I'm doing is I'm pulsing my knee towards 10 o'clock. Okay, then I'm gonna bend the left knee, let it drop to the center of the mat. Keep walking your right foot over to 3 o'clock for me, 9 o'clock for you. The 9 and 3 axis is what I call it. Okay, and then we're gonna let our twist happen from the upper body where we allow our gaze and our chest to move towards the side wall here. Okay, this might be a little too much, so only go as far as it feels good, but we're trying to get, let's tuck the back toes under, we're trying to get some mobility in the lower back. Okay, we're stretching the hip flexors and quads now. If it is too much to tuck the toes under and lift the knee, stay in the first version and just let it come from the upper body. Lots of variations. Okay. All right. So now we're going to unwind. Come on back to 12 o'clock. Let's straighten the legs, flex the toes back, and just give it a little wiggle from side to side. You'll probably feel this deep into the SI joint. And if it's stuck, it might feel a little tender, a little sore. Be easy about it. Come out of the poses if it ever feels like too much. And then come back to a seated position, legs together. Let's go ahead and pick up our right foot and bring it underneath to the 9 and 3. Flex the toes back. Walk your left foot over to, it's 11 for me, so 1 for you. Just woke up this morning trying to teach it backwards. And then what we're going to do is keep walking our foot over towards 2 o'clock, okay? And start to pulse over to the side. Pulse. So be really deep into the TFL, the side body, IT band, gallbladder line, all the way up into the obliques. So yeah, really deep. We're keeping the foot flexed. That's underneath. Okay, right toes pulling back. And then when you're ready, bend the right knee, let it drop to the center of the mat. Keep walking over heel toe to the 9 and 3 line with both legs. And then we're going to twist with the upper body. It's really strong on the upper body, so pull your shoulders down your back to engage the lats. And then if you want to do a more advanced version, tuck the toes under and start to lift as you twist. Lift and twist. Lift and twist. This is going to open up the quad, get into the hip flexor and the psoas a little bit more. Whenever there's something going on with the sacrum, there's something going on with the psoas. We got to work those two together. Whenever you're ready, bring the knee back down. Unwind. So we're going to come back to 12. Maybe do a supported back bend, a little hop, whatever you need to do to get the swing down a little bit lower with the legs together. Another round of Weeping Willow. Toes touch the front of the mat. Okay, so now let's get into the front body a little bit more. We're going to strengthen the core. Get into some more quad stretches and then end with a really deep inversion with some tractioning. Like I said, this is kind of the expedited version. There's more lower back videos that you can search under the AYRx Therapeutix if you're looking for a longer sequence, or just go ahead and repeat this and do it again. Okay, so what we're going to do is walk it back out till 10 and 2. Back into our sumo. This is our go-to pose. Let's do a little core strengthening. Let's go ahead and reach over and grab the left leg loop with both hands. Drop the left knee and then squeeze and lift. Okay, so I'm pulling down just as much as I'm pulling up with my knee. Arms are straight out towards you and very strongly engaged. So we want to get the whole torso involved with the core activation. If you do 10 of these each day, you're pretty much set. So let's just kind of finish this round, and then we'll go to second side. Squeeze. And this time when we squeeze, knee goes out to the side, get the foot in there, and then we're going to hang by the back of the knee. So let's do the second side floating and notice the difference. Okay, arms straight out in front. Squeeze the knee up, and the knee almost touches down. Immediately squeeze again on the exhale. Inhale, expand. Exhale, squeeze, and expand. Squeeze. Good. Squeeze. 10 if you can, for just as long as you feel your core working, and you can keep going. As soon as you get fatigued, you're going to lose the alignment, so that's when you're going to get the foot in there. Okay? This time we're just going to go for one leg in chilaxin, one leg in floating Buddha. And we're going to hug that on the right side. We're going to hug the knee and foot towards the chest. Just stretch the outer glute, dropping the hips straight down. Maybe rock a little bit in the space there. Catch your breath. Rocking is so good for opening up the connective tissue, kind of wringing out the lymph and getting the fascia to release. So we do a lot of wiggling and a lot of rocking in these poses. We're going to hold on to the right leg loop with the right hand, turn the knee in and over for a quad stretch. Now again, we're going to move to some more advanced versions, and you can go back and do the full body stretch and sumo. If you're wanting a little bit more of a chill practice, just rewind it and repeat that part. Only do this if it feels good. It's going to be really intense. We're getting into the hip flexor and quad. Make sure you're pulling your knee down to the center of the mat and then spreading out on the 9 and 3 axis. Nice deep breaths, letting that feel good. Whenever you need a break, whenever you need to come out, pull your knee towards the sky as you lean back and let it slide into chillaxin pose. Give it a little hop and come into swagger, where we sway from side to side for a few rounds to reset the spine. Another alternative, if you just feel like that's way too much for today, you can stay in a seated pigeon, where you bring the left foot on top of the right knee, and you can either hug the leg loops towards you for a deeper version, or you can go ahead and just stay in chillaxin arms and drop the hips and lean back and sway from side to side. Just wiggle the hips. I call it wagging the tail because you can see the left foot is exploring in this space. Okay, for those that want to do this version, stay here. For those that want to do the more advanced, we're going to move the left leg loop down to the ankle. We're going to come into our floating pigeon and do the same rocking movement. I'm holding onto the foot, keeping the toes flexed back, and I'm pulling the knee towards the chest. We first warm up the hip by bending the knee out. Then the left hand is going to grab for left leg loop as high as possible, turn the knee in and over. I hold on to both leg loops for support. These are my stabilizers. The knee is coming towards the center of the mat and then spreading out on the 9-3 line. So towards the center of the mat and then spread it out. That is the intensity of the stretch that comes from this pose. My hips are square to the side wall, okay, instead of towards the camera here. Whew, the more that I relax into it and spread out, I don't know if you guys can see the difference. This is tight, right? When people are pulling the knees towards the center line too much, but then we want to spread out on the 9 and 3 axis and get that deep stretch. So we're opening up you guys keep holding on, but I'm opening up the quad and the hip flex all the way up into the psoas, and that's why I want my head, the crown of the head pointing straight up towards the sky to keep my pillar, my vertical axes in all the poses. Okay, whenever you're ready to come out of it, just lean back, pull the knee towards the sky, and you will slide into chillaxin. Leg loop moves up to the back of the knee. Give it a little hop, get comfortable again. We're almost done. We're gonna get into our inversion. Now, if you don't do inversions, like I said, just repeat any part of that sequence. You can go back to a seated pigeon from chillaxin and just work on breathing into the tightness here in the glutes and the hips, with all the variations of hugging and squeezing until you get to that sweet spot. There'll be a spot that you can tell is kind of holding up the stickiness. And we really want to get into the glutes, the legs, the belly, the core, both the hamstrings and the quads to open it up. So from here, you can also come into an extended leg twist. Okay, so a whole sequence called seated pigeon that you can look up if you want to do that deeper. This is how we get into a safe inversion. We're going to reach for our knees and slide up the leg loops as high as possible. And then we're going to come to stand. So bicep curl up so your feet stand in the center of the mat. Your leg loops are going to come high. I call it high skydiver, where they're up by your groin now. Okay, the hands are going to press down on the swing. Okay, so reach up for the top of the swing. Let your forearms slide down. Now that I use yellow swings, you can actually see with my black clothes. And then I'm going to place the swing with my forearms on my lower back right across the iliac crest, okay? So make sure that it's like below the love handles, if you have love handles. I'm going to walk my feet to the front of the mat. I'm going to keep holding on. Just watch for the first round as I give instruction, and I'll come up and we'll do it again together so you can see the differentiation for the tractioning. Even if you've done this before, just hold up and watch for a moment. I'm going to lean back, bring my legs wide and around. I have to hook my feet in front, okay, so my toes touch, and then I'm upside down. So if the swing was not placed perfectly, you can come back around and do that whole sequence again, okay? So I'm going to show you one more time, safe in and outs. Whenever you are ready to come up, I reach up for my inner thighs, hold on to the fabric, bring my legs wide and around. I'll end it in chillaxin. Okay, so let me show you the tractioning part that we're going to do for the sacrum. And it just has to do with where we're putting our hands and how we're moving our body once we're in the inversion. It's a little bit more active. Okay, so I come into the pose. We don't use the leg loops now. They're going to be loose, so don't worry about those if they slide off. I just like to pull them towards my center line just so they'll stay put. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my right hand and walk it over to the right side. And my left hand is going to be pushing, and I'm going to add a twist there so that I'm tractioning the side body through the oblique into the iliac crest. So again, I'm taking my left hand out to the left, pushing in with my right hand. So pulling with the left, pushing with the right, and then adding a twist there to see how far I can get the swing to slide down over the piriformis. Another great option is to bring one leg back and to do the same twisting motion. It's so intense and so awesome for the glutes and iliac crest. So let's do the other side. Just watch for the first round. Leg goes back behind me like I'm in a half bow. I'm pushing and pulling in the space and adding a twist and letting the swing slide over my glute. Right? So there's like a little hop that just happened there as it went over the piriformis. So I can pull it up and do it again. Ah, right. Amazing. Okay. Wrap both legs around. Hold on to the swing by the inner thighs and come on around. Just a little heads up. This is a little bit more advanced. So if you don't normally do inversions, maybe stick with the first part and skip the tractioning because you don't want to unhook a leg unless you feel super safe. It's rare that you might slip out, but don't even chance it if your lower back is hurting. All right, let's do that one more time. We all do it together now and just kind of listen for the verbal cues. I'm going to reach up and grab for, because you're not going to be able to see me when you're upside down unless you turn around. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn around so you can see, so I can see the camera when I'm upside down, but you guys can stay where you are. And if you want to turn around to see the camera while you're upside down, you're welcome to. I'm just going a little bit quicker than normal. But once I'm here, I can place the swing on my back. Legs go wide and around. Et voila, I'm upside down. Okay. So from the center of the mat, I'm going to walk my hand over to the side, push with the hand that's in the center, and then add a little twist. Okay. This is actually tractioning that side, the opposite side. Okay, let's try the other side. So pushing into the center of the mat, walking my right hand over to the right, and twisting. So that little twist is what's getting into the oblique. It's really strong on the arms. It's like I'm doing a one-handed handstand. So if your arms at all feel tired, you can bend the elbows. Straight would be more advanced. Okay. Reset in the center. Do that about 5 times on each side. Really taking your time, exploring the pushing and pulling, exploring the twist, just getting into the iliac crest and getting some tractioning in there, working with the fascia, mobilizing the SI joint. I like to freestyle a lot of times where, just make it up, let it feel good. Notice what happens if you drop to your elbow, what happens if you add a little bit more twist, what happens if you go the opposite way. Just see what feels good because you have to listen to your body as the messenger for what it needs. You can always take a pause in the center and traction the back of the neck to stretch the whole spine. Okay, the one leg back. So I'm going to extend my right leg back behind me. I'm going to go ahead and press my right hand to the center of the mat, left hand over to the side and add a twist. So it's kind of like my hips are coming towards the camera. I can straighten that leg to push down into the swing a little bit more. And I'm digging into the piriformis. If you guys know that muscle, it is right above the glute, close to the SI joint. And it often gets stuck and really hard to get into. So this is a great way of digging in there. I've been doing a lot more digging with the swing, a lot more fascial work. It's been amazing. When we come back to center, I'm going to get both legs wrapped around before second side. Left leg goes out to the side, back behind me for a half bow. I'm going to twist so you can see I'm in a half bow. We always keep one leg hooked, the other one back. Left hand to the center of the mat, right hand over to the side, pushing and pulling in the space as much as you can, and add a twist. I can extend that leg to push more weight into the swing. So amazing. That's why I was like, sure, I'll do a video for the low back and sacrum and post it right away. It's just helpful for everybody, but if you're experiencing low back pain, this will be instant release for the piriformis, this particular pose. But the whole sequence is amazing. Just do the first half. If you're more wanting restorative, the second half is going to be more advanced, right? Okay. Reset in the center and do 5 more rounds of this. If it's feeling really good, you can come on up and come back down and do the whole sequence all over again. Slow and steady and lots of repetition is the key for healing the back. But just even this pose without those tractioning moves of getting the QL and the psoas to stretch, all those lovely muscles around the band of the waist while tractioning the spine and the pelvis and using gravity to do the work is incredibly healing for the lower back and has so much benefit for our brain, our endocrine system, our energy management. So we're going to reach up and grab for the swing by your inner thighs. Bring the legs wide and around and slowly drop your hips, bicep curl, sit back down. You'll land it in chillaxin pose. Swag from side to side. Be very gentle during the swag because you'll notice the tenderness in the lower back after all that digging. This is our opportunity to reset, so take your time in between poses. You guys stay where you are. I'm just going to turn around, so I'm facing you once again. Whew. Just 5 more breaths in swagger. You can go back and repeat the seated pigeon pose if that feels like a good way to finish. I hang out in seated pigeon quite a bit, letting the glutes drop, keeping the heart lifted, head relaxed back into the hands, wiggling and twisting from side to side and just playing in the space. Definitely releases lower body, legs, hips, glutes. Okay, remember to take a long Shavasana after all of this deep stretching. What we're going to do to come into Shavasana is take our leg loops off one at a time, stay seated until both come off. Just in case you guys haven't seen Cocoon yet. Most people have by now, but it's our #1 favorite relaxation pose. We're going to get into the swing. In this version, if you want to release the sacrum, I'm going to go with Viparita with my legs up the sides. Okay, they're out in a V, wide. And my arms are overhead. I'm going to just take time to push one hip down and the other hip down and let the body sway from side to side until you feel that there's evenness in the pelvis. You'll probably notice one side feels a little bit more sticky than the other. And keep working that from side to side until you notice that the lower back has gained some space and some relief. If you need to extend the legs and put the leg loops on for that version of Cocoon, feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching this video. You can find out more about my healing practice at aerialyogarx.com. I use the swings for Therapeutix, for dynamic strengthening, core activation, and then, of course, acrobatics and flips and tricks and all that. But yes, go to aerialyogarx.com. I'm Jen Healy, and I really appreciate you spending some time in the swing with me. Namaste. Bye for now.